Have you put any thought into how you want your body to be handled after death? Do you want to be buried, cremated, or donated to science? There are so many choices. Do you have any idea of how a common process works called embalming? We will all die or have a loved one to die, and majority of us don't know how the embalming process works. We do know that embalming preserves the body, and that's it. I attended Sand Hills Community College, and while I was in my studies, I took a class called Death and Dying. And in this class, we went to a funeral home, and it just excited me so much to see all the different things we can do to a body after it's dead. You can be cremated and turned into a diamond ring, or put in a tree and be sprouted up, or be put in fireworks. And since that day that I went to the funeral home, I've just had an excitement in me for working in funeral services, and that's why now I'm attending Fayetteville Technical Community College and I'm taking funeral services. And even then, I've researched embalming, and I will be using sources in this speech about embalming. Embalming is an ancient process used to help preserve a body for funeral services. I will discuss what embalming is, the history of embalming, and the possible negative effects. Death is guaranteed, but I knew little about death and what happens to a person after they die. What is embalming and why is it done? Embalming became widespread in the United States after the death of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln's body was preserved long enough to go on a cross-country trip for 19 days, and people was able to say their goodbyes. According to the article, How Stuff Works, embalming is the process of using chemicals to maintain or restore a body to their natural appearance. Embalming fluid is injected into an artery in the neck, and as the fluid fills the body, the blood drains out of the body. The main cavity is open and the bodily fluids is expelled and filled up with embalming fluid. Lastly, the body is dressed and makeup is put on, and then you'll have the funeral. Knowing why embalming is done, let's talk about how and where embalming originated. According to the article, mummy embalming preceded pharaohs. Embalming began in Egypt with mummification. It is believed that embalming in Egypt started thousands of years before we thought that it did. While reading Encyclopedia Britannica, it talks about how Egyptians wrapped the body in cloth and buried it in a box filled with charcoal or sand, and it was moved far away from the Nile River. They believed in immortality and physical resurrection. And because they believed in physical resurrection, they felt like your body needs to have a nice appearance for the soul to be lured back. Trained and skilled embalmers took good care of the bodies to preserve them. Egyptians would remove organs, clean the body, and fill with powder of myrrh and aromatic resins and perfumes. The Smithsonian Institute also explains that Egyptians left the heart in, believing it to be the center of a person's being and intelligence. Egyptians influenced other ancient cultures to do embalming, such as the Assyrians, Persians, and the Tibetans. Embalmings have been practiced for thousands of years, and though there are benefits for grieving families, embalming may have possible negative effects. People are concerned about embalming harming the environment and funeral service workers in the future. In the article on Talk Death, it talks about how embalming is environmentally costly. Formaldehyde is a chemical that is used in the embalming process, and it is highly toxic and flammable. The EPA has classified formaldehyde as a probable human carcinogen, which is a cancer-causing agent. Embalmers are putting their lives at risk by being exposed to formaldehyde. There are pros and cons of embalming. People risk their health by providing a last service and making someone look their best. In conclusion, embalming is used to preserve bodies. Embalming originated in Egypt, and there are pros and cons of embalming. Now, anytime you go to a funeral, you will know what has been done to make the person appear to look as if they are simply asleep.